Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in less than 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise and funny at times too. So thank you. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. First question, tell us in a few sentences who you are and what you do.
Thank you. Happy to be here. So, hey everyone, my name is David Awad. I'm a developer evangelist at R3, and I'm also a venture associate with Principium Ventures, as well as a TA for graduate information security at Georgia Tech. I also do a little bit of public policy work as well, but nothing too exciting. So happy to be here.
You are a well-traveled man. You're all over the place.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn.
That's fantastic. Question number 2, what's the best thing about working with a team?
Right. So I think if you ask anyone in quarantine what they miss the most, it's likely going to be other people, right? Humor, jokes, encouraging each other. And I think that's really obvious, right? Like life is hard. And what a lot of people don't realize is that people grow closer together through hardship, right? Everyone says college was the best time of their lives. And then we look back like, well, what did you do? You worked like hell and you struggled with a whole bunch of other people. So I actually personally feel like it's kind of an honor and a privilege every day to wake up with people and give joy to a team of people that you really believe in. The best thing about working with a team is the opportunity to help your team members grow, right? So, you know, P.T. Barnum once said the noblest art is that of making others happy. So that's, I think, that's both what I really miss and also the best thing about being on a team.
Great insights. I love that about the people and then the connection, especially during this interesting time. So thank you. That's great insight. Question number 3. I hear from other leaders of teams that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. So it's both hard and not hard, right? Generally, I actually think if you're a leader with integrity and you believe in what you're doing, you can go very far. Even further, if you can understand how other people see your mission and why they see it that way and can still convince them, you'll go much farther. But for me, the way that I do that generally is just to be honest with your team, right? Like I can't think of a single instance in my life where I gained something from lying that I didn't later regret. Sam Harris's book on lying is something that really changed my life in that respect. Highly recommend that. So it sounds obvious, but be honest about who you are and also be honest about what you're doing, right? Not everyone is making the world a better place, but there's nothing wrong with being excited about building a good business and earning an honest living, right? All you need to do is to convince your team that they matter to you and emphasize the trust that exists in the relationship between you and your employees, right? Yeah, sure. Like nobody likes their boss, but at the end of the day, if your boss didn't trust you to do the job, you wouldn't have it. So all you have to do is convince them that you believe in them to do that work.
Love that. Thank you for sharing that. Well, question number 4, what other piece of advice would you give for leaders of teams?
So I've assembled a short list of principles here. Stay in the garage longer and don't hire jerks. Always ask for feedback. Always tell the truth. Never tip the boat to catch a whale. Balance your cash flows. Always. Pick up a hobby or art form that you're bad at and regularly humiliate yourself. I recommend stand-up comedy. It is amazing how funny I'm not. Right? Abandon all pride and shame. There is absolutely zero ROI to be found by acting like you matter more than anyone else as a leader. If a manager is doing their job well, they actually are doing nothing because their team is just crushing it, right? So keep that in mind.
Great insights. I love those nuggets. However many there were, 7 or 10 of them. That was great. Great insights.
Thank you.
Question number 5. What other successful team leaders, such as yourself, would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life?
My vote is probably for Lisa Su, current CEO of AMD, who has done incredible things if anyone is following the semiconductor space. And she is probably the unsung hero of that industry, I would say. So I would probably try to bring her on and ask her what her priorities were when she took the helm at AMD, and probably what her biggest fears were then, what they are now, and ask her what she believes now that she didn't believe 6 months ago. That's probably the moves I'd make, because I think she's just done fantastic things with AMD, and the share price reflects that if anyone's been following it.
Well, that's a great recommendation. I love those questions that you suggest we ask as well. Those are great questions.
Yeah, sure.
Final question. Tell us about your first job.
Yeah, so my first job was actually as a fry cook at a fast food place that will not be named for purposes of anonymity. That they had this big potato wall that you had to rebuild every day. Just this huge 15-foot long wall of sacks of potato that I'd have to take apart and rebuild each morning. And then you'd take the bags and drag them into the sink, and you would hand cut the potatoes. Do this. They had a little potato slicer, and you would take each potato one by one, and you would get really mechanical about this. And if you messed up, you'd push your hand into the slicer, and it was an intense place to be. So I was never very fast at doing this. But it was just the most intense manual labor ever. And each bag is like 40 pounds, right? So it was just a pain to fix that up every day. I hated the working conditions, but I was always too McChicken to do anything about it. So, fortunately, I'm on to bigger and better things.
Very good. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
David, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How can people find you?
Right. So you can find me on davidawad.com. I'm on Twitter at RealDavidAwad. That's AWAD. Allegedly, I do comedy as well. So that's on my Instagram at RealDavidAwad. So, yeah, feel free to find me. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, you can find us on LinkedIn by searching Blue Sky Business Consulting. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.